All right, guys, so let's talk about how we would find the perfect customers for a dentist, right? Because remember, we are going to actually be running ads on behalf of this dentist. We are going to be trying to find our dentist, the perfect people to come, get their teeth cleaned and things like that. And we're going to show you the exact funnel that we use. And when I say funnel, for those of you who don't know, right, it's just a better version of a website that's more kind of adept at actually converting people into paying customers. And so we're going to go through exactly how we set this up. Dentist traffic ad in San Diego, La Jolla specifically, and we're going to talk about what interest I chose. We're going to be driving traffic to a website. And so obviously once we had pixel data, on our website, once people kind of, have been visiting our website and things like that, maybe we could add a custom audience, or if we got a lot of data, we could create a lookalike audience if we wanted to expand it into nearby counties or something like that. But for the most part, we're just going to be using kind of the detailed targeting down below. So these are two zip codes in La Jolla, San Diego, which is kind of a rich kind of region of San Diego, who has parents, and if they have small children and things like that, they'd be concerned more likely, in our experience, just because of the affluency of kind of the demographic of this richer area of San Diego, to be able to put their, give their kids kind of more expensive dentistry, which would be advantageous to us because obviously people who can afford to go to a dentist would be a better customer for the dentist. So these are the two zip codes right here. We also did what's called dropping a pin. And so what we did was we zoomed in a little bit. Just so we covered a little bit more ground than just these two specific zip codes, we just dropped a pin right here. And then you can choose how large of a radius, you can make the circle bigger or you can make the circle smaller. And if you do it this way and you drop the pin like this, you actually don't technically need the zip codes because it encompasses them. And so we're just going to do, let's do 14. We're just going to delete these ones because it already encompasses them anyways. And so now we have kind of the whole La Jolla area, which if we zoom in, we can see La Jolla right here, which is an area of San Diego. And so age. And so let's think about this for a second. Who that sees a Facebook ad, because there's two types of customers here. There's the customer for us, which is the dentist, and then there's the dentist customer, which is the person who's scrolling through their Facebook feed and sees an ad for a dentist and clicks it, right? So what we're concerned with now that we're a Facebook ad agency is getting our customers, right? And so what age range of people would be most likely to see an ad on Facebook for a dentist and click it? Right? And so 25 to 45-year-olds is kind of going to be my initial guess. And the reason that I'm going to say that, guys, is because, if you're under 25, you've probably had a dentist, or a lot of people had a dentist kind of that their parents introduced, and things like that. But kind of once you get to the 25 to 45-year-old range, you're living by yourself, and we're going to talk about one of the more important parts of this a little bit later on, that you recently moved. But if you're in the 25 range, we could even do 26 because it's actually the last year that you can have your parents' insurance. If you're in the kind of 26-year-old to 45-year-old range, you're moving out. Normally, you're on your own. You don't have your parents' insurance anymore. And people in that general age range between 26 and 45 are having kids, right? So I'm going to take my first kind of stab in the dark as just women. And the reason for that is I've found that women tend to, especially kind of in the husband-wife kind of team, women tend to choose the doctor and dentist more often than men do. And so obviously, if I was going to do this for real, I would do I would do all genders. I would split test and men, and I would split test just women. And I'd be very sure that men would perform significantly worse than women and all. And I think women would perform the best. So I'm just going to take a shot in the dark as women here, but I would, again, split test it just to be sure with, $5 to $10 to $20 a day. We're going to do English here, and it's actually important that we choose English for this one. And the reason for that is San Diego has a very large Hispanic population, and so showing ads to people in English, and then showing them to people who potentially only speak Spanish using Facebook, then you'd be wasting ad spend, right? You'd be showing an ad to somebody who doesn't speak English potentially, and you'd be paying for that. And so we're going to choose English just to make sure that everyone we're showing ads to actually speaks the language that our ad is in. So detailed targeting. So this is the important part, guys, right? Include people who match at least one of the following. Parents with preschoolers who are 3 to 5 years old. I think that the people who are most likely to be shopping for a new dentist would be parents, right? Would be a team of a husband and wife, or a same-sex team that had children. Parents with preschoolers 3 to 5 years old. I think once you kind of get to the 3 to 5 years old range, and I actually had to call and ask my mom this originally because I don't have kids yet, and I didn't know like when kids actually started to go to the dentist. And luckily, my mom, who's great and works for me full time actually now, was happy and kind enough to share with me when people actually start going to the dentist. But I mean, that's a good point, guys, because if you don't know the answer to these questions, figure it out, right? Who knows when children go to the dentist better than my mom? No one, right? She's the perfect person to ask. And so that's why I targeted parents with preschoolers 3 to 5 years old. Parents with preteens 8 to 12 years old. We see this is out of order, but 3 to 5, 6 to 8, 8 to 12, 13 to 18. Because over 18, your kids usually start to go to college. Most people who get their braces and dental work done and things like that do it before the age of 18. And so there's kind of a lot of thought. And the point is, guys, take your best guess, because at the beginning, you're not going to know until you start to split test, right? And if I was doing this in a more formalized sense, I would probably split test this, where I would make one ad set that only had parents with preschoolers 3 to 5, and then I would split test, I would duplicate it and make one only with parents with preteens aged 8 to 12. And then I would do parents with primary school age, 6 to 8. I would do them individually, right? But this is important. So parents, in my opinion, kind of in my first shot in the dark with younger age children, are going to be the most likely to have an interest in a new dentist, right? But not only that, so they have to match this. They have to be parents, and they have to have a child this age. But they must also match the following. They have to have shown interest in Crest, the toothpaste, right? Because if somebody goes out of their way to actually go like the Crest toothpaste page, then obviously they're more interested than the average bear in dental health. And so Crest toothpaste is a good one. Crest Oral-B for dental professionals, right? Another good one. Crest white strips. If somebody's interested in Crest white strips, then they're probably interested in having white teeth. If they're interested in having white teeth, they probably care more about dental health than the average person does. And so these are great ways to kind of narrow down your target audience to people who are parents with kids 3 to 18 who are also interested in these dental hygienic companies or products, to kind of signify that they're more interested than the average person in kind of oral hygiene. And then most importantly, in my opinion, in this specific case, is must also match at least one of the following. Because it's important to note here, guys, there's 3 groups. They have to be this, they also have to be this, and they also have to be this, right? So we're really honing down on this first kind of shot in the dark, and then we're gonna see whether or not I'm actually right. But again, like always, the true tell is gonna be from once you start to split test, which we will talk about in the future modules. So I think it's really important that they have recently moved. Facebook gives you so many options here and so much variety, like we talked about, all of the different interests, demographics, behaviors that you can target, right? So a great demographic, right, that they label as life events is that they recently moved. And Facebook knows all about our geography. They know where we are. I know it's creepy, but for us, it's great. And so if they recently moved, they'd be much more likely, in my opinion, to be shopping for a dentist, because people who haven't recently moved are much more likely to already have a dentist in the area that they live, right? And so this is a very, very critical point, which is why I put it by itself. So this means that every single person that we show this ad to has to have recently moved, right? They could like Crest or Oral-B or Crest white strips or Oral-B right here, right? They could like any of these 4. They could be any of these 4, but they have to be this one. And that's why it's so important, right? So when you narrow further, I generally like to put my most important detailed targeting by itself, so that every single person that we show the ad to matches this specific detailed targeting, right? And so then let's keep going. So placements, like we talked about kind of in the last modules, how I like to set this up is I'll do one split test that has mobile only. I'll do one split test that has desktop only. But just to make this easier, we'll just do all devices here. And we're gonna get rid of some of the stuff that doesn't really work, right? Instagram has different sizes for ads that are optimized, so we're not gonna do that. When we run Instagram ads, we'll do it in perfectly optimized sizes. We're going to get rid of some of these ones that just don't work well, and we're going to focus on the Facebook feeds, right? Because the Facebook feeds are by far the most profitable type of ad placement that you can actually run. Right, so we set up our location, we set up our ad set name, age, gender, language, detailed targeting, placements, right? And now let's talk about budget and schedule for a second. And so, you need to talk about this with, your actual clients, but they're going to ask you, like, what do you recommend? Right? And so what I like to do is I like to create a bunch of split tests. And when you create a bunch of split tests, it starts to add up. Because remember, if your budget is $5 a day, for example, and you split tested it and ran one desktop and one mobile, then that would now be $5 a day and $5 a day. So there's two sets of $5 a day, which obviously means your total budget is $10 a day. And so, depending on what your clients are comfortable spending, I generally like to recommend that they start by spending, between $20 and $50 a day. And so if you have 4 split tests here or 10 split tests, if they allow you to do $50 a day, or $100 a day, obviously the more split tests you can have and the more that they're comfortable with and the more that you can quickly show them results, the more comfortable that they're going to be actually spending more daily budget once they're kind of seeing and feeling that additional profit that you're adding. Because an important note about this, guys, is that the quicker that you can show them results, the better they're going to feel. People that have never advertised before, it feels weird spending money with no tangible result, right? Like, what am I spending money on? Like, I don't get like a prize. I don't get a basketball. I don't get like a physical product. I don't get anything, right? It seems very intangible. But when they hear the phone ring and somebody calls in to the dentist business and says, hey, like I'm responding to an ad I saw on Facebook. Like, I want to claim, my free teeth cleaning. I saw an ad from, Kevin David or whatever the name of the page was. Then that feels so much more real. The secretaries are going to start talking about it. The nurses are going to talk about it. Everybody's kind of going to be buzzing about this amazing, new thing that you created for them, right? You brought them a client that they would never have otherwise had. And that is the magic of Facebook ads, right? And so, it's going to be a hard sell giving them a large daily budget, but once they feel results and see the profit and the value that you're bringing, right, it's going to be so much easier. And so that, guys, is the dentist. How I would set up, a basic kind of first test, the quote unquote shot in the dark, with a lot of, thought behind it, obviously, that we would then start to duplicate and split test and start to see what was actually working and what wasn't, scaling the ones that were, obviously pausing the ones that were not, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that one, guys, and let's get to the next example.